Good morning, everyone, and welcome back to the Adobe XD Daily Creative Challenge. My name is Howard Pinsky, Senior XD Evangelist here at Adobe, and I hope you're all doing well. Welcome to the stream. If you're new to the Adobe XD Daily Creative Challenge, I'm going to explain all the good stuff in just a moment, but if you are joining me live here on Behance, let me know where you are, where you're tuning in from. Today, I'm streaming from very hot Los Angeles. In a few weeks, I'll be back in San Francisco. I can't wait to be back. Let me know who you are, where you're tuning in from, and if you've used Adobe XD before, or if you've never used it before, I also want to know that as well. So let me hop over to my screen here and explain all the goodness that is the Adobe XD Daily Creative Challenge. We've got someone from Russia, and we've got New York, Portland, awesome, New York City, South Dakota, unreasonably cool South Dakota, Dubai, Thailand. I love this. I love seeing people from all over the world. Alrighty, so if you haven't checked this out yet, behance.net/daily creative challenge. This is where you're going to find all the information that you need to start taking part in our bi-monthly challenge. Last week we had the Photoshop Daily Creative Challenge. And this week, we're starting off our 2 weeks with XD. So if you haven't pressed that big blue register button at the top, definitely press that. So that way, every single morning at 8 o'clock in the morning, you know when we release and unlock a new challenge. We still got cities coming in from here. We got Brazil and Ukraine and Seattle and India, Buenos Aires and Austin. Awesome. I love this. So every single day, you're going to receive a challenge, and then you're going to join me at 11:30 Pacific time to kick things off. And I'm going to show you a somewhat basic example of what you can do with that challenge. And I'll get to today's challenge in just a moment. And then you're going to share your work on Behance using the keyword XD Daily Challenge. And that's so I can jump into Behance and search all of your amazing designs. And we've gotten a lot of designs. And I love seeing some designs from day number 1 start trickle in on day number 2 as well. Really goes to show that some of you are taking a little bit of extra time to really polish up and perfect some of those challenges that you've been working on, which is nice. And then you have until April 29th-ish to complete all the challenges. Again, as I've mentioned, every single day. It's not a competition, so if you need a few extra days to polish things off and make sure things are looking great, take a few extra days. Don't worry too much about it. Don't stress. Grab XD for free, and then join us on Discord. And here's our Discord channel here. Here's the introduction section. Got a lot of people in here. I think there's over 2,000 people in Discord right now. There's a design feedback section to give and receive feedback. If you have questions about XD or design, you can post them in there. We've got tips and tricks, chat, welcome. We've got a lot of different channels in here. So jump in there, have fun. It's a good time. And then for the challenges, we've got a drop-down menu on day 1, upload a file on day 2, and then today we're tackling a pagination. And that could be taken in many different ways. So we're gonna have a little bit of fun with it. We're gonna get creative. But before I do that, I wanna showcase a few designs that have come in from yesterday. That was the upload file button or upload interaction. And this one was from Charles. And let me go ahead and launch this interactive prototype, which you can embed directly on Behance from XD. So this one here, once it loads, you'll notice there's a few items, a few images selected. And if you just drag that over, pop that in, boop, and you upload that. And it also has this little, almost like a drop down that kind of expands here. I thought that was super cool. And so Yag is saying, thanks for the triangle tool in the next update. Was that confirmed yet? I don't know if that was confirmed. Guides were confirmed, unless Andrew posted something on Twitter recently. But there was, in that video, there was a triangle, so maybe there's a triangle tool. And maybe it just doesn't create triangles. Maybe it creates other things. We'll have to see. So that was awesome. Great job. I think that was Charles. So next one, we've got Hashpal, and he created, I love the gradient on this one. And there's a little GIF at the bottom. Is it GIF or is it GIF? I say GIF. That's the correct way. Don't fight me. So I thought this was really cool. Again, really nice gradients, fun designs, fun transitions, nicely looking stuff. Yes, awesome. Next is Kate, who does frequent Twitter. She's also on our Discord server. And this one, I love the presentation of this one because she just really goes to town and, you know, adds all this information about this interaction and everything. And there's a little bit of a GIF at the top here to show the upload process, donation. Thought it looked really cool. Polygon tool, I don't know, maybe. There might be a polygon tool. But there is definitely guides, and there's a lot of other things, which I can't wait to show you all. And this one is from Nadia. I love when users put their designs inside of real-world mock-ups like this laptop. And then if I play this, you'll see her interaction that she created. Let me start from the beginning. So we have a drag interaction, that little Windows Explorer menu or window pops up. She drags a few files in. They both load up, just like that. Awesome. Oh, there's a little bit more. But that was kind of the gist of it. So good job, Nadia. And then we've got from Eva, who posted this on Behance, this video. And if you are using the Mac version of XD, you can upload, or you can record a video directly from XD. If you're using Windows, you can use the built-in game bar to record a video as well. So that was kind of cool. Awesome job. And then we've got Andy, who started with a Super Mario theme from day 1, and he's been continuing it until day 2, and maybe even day 3. Who knows? We'll see. So as you can see here, there's the drop-down menu that we showed on day 1. Select English, Super Mario Run, and then if I go to the profile picture, he created an interaction where you can upload your own profile picture just like that, using some of the tips that we showed yesterday. So that was super cool. And then finally, this was the UI kit that Talon and Sam created, but not part of today's challenge. So, there's Eva. Welcome, Eva. Great job. So let me hop over to Adobe XD, and this is the challenge that we're going to be tackling today. So what are we doing? We're tackling a pagination, and the basic concept of that is to get you from either page to page or item to item. And you can really take this in many different ways. If you take a look at the example that was provided, this was, there's number 1, there's number 2, and it kind of cycles through some photos. Usually you see this on blogs where you have a bunch of different blog posts and you click on page number 2 and it takes you to page 2, 3, you get the idea. But we're gonna have a little bit of fun with this. We're gonna actually create some sort of an image gallery, single image, and you'll be able to cycle through some of them using numbers at the bottom or whatever. Who knows where this is going to go? So over here, you're going to pop your artboard there, and I'm going to start off. I'm going to grab and if you do need, if you do want to go to the blog route, or you do want to go whatever it might be, there's some UI elements over here. There's a repeat grid. You can drag some images in, and there's some more elements here, some buttons, some image icons, some great color schemes you can use. And if you do see Marissa Blair in the chat, definitely thank her for these awesome templates. So we're going to get going. I'm going to grab my artboard tool. That's a hard word to say. It shouldn't be, but it is. Over to the left, and I'm going to start off with, let's say, a Web 1280 artboard. I'm just going to click on that. It's going to pop it right there. I can move it up just to align it, because if it's not aligned, it bothers me. And we're going to get designing. So we're going to start. I love dark backgrounds, so I'm going to just grab my artboard, set the fill to a nice dark color. And what I'm thinking for this design is we're going to have a pretty large image card in the middle, and then we're going to have additional cards that are kind of hanging off the side. And with the numbers, with the pagination at the bottom, you can cycle through back and forth the different cards, and you can probably also use the drag trigger to, select them as well. So right in the middle, I'm going to grab my rectangle and just draw one out. There's going to be two aspects to this. So there's going to be one that's about, let's say right about here. This is going to be the card that's going to actually explain some of the information on the image. And then over to the right, we're actually going to have the image itself. So I'm just going to drag this out like this. Perfect. I'm going to overlap it a little bit. I'm actually going to move the image behind the card. You're going to see why in a second. I'm going to turn the borders off of these two because I probably don't want some borders. And the first thing we want is an image. So I'm going to hop over to Finder. There we go. Here's Finder. And we've got these great images of Japan. Where's that image that I want to use? Where is it? I lost the image. I promise it's here somewhere. Let me make these a little bit smaller so I can see. There it is. This is a great image here of some street in Japan with these great neon colors. It's gonna really pop on this design. I'm gonna just drag this into Adobe XD just like that, pop it in there. And now we want to start adding some actual content to this card over to the left. But before I do that, I want to give this card a little bit of flavor. So I'm actually going to turn on background blur and then have some fun with the way this looks. And already it looks kind of cool, but I'm going to lighten it up a little bit. So just move this over, and I'm going to move this transparency up a little bit as well, just so there's a little bit of color popping through. You might be able to see it. I'm going to turn down the blur just a touch so you can just see a little bit. Let me zoom in here. You can see just a little bit of color. You don't want to make it too blurred and too transparent, because then the text will kind of blend in with the background. So I'm going to leave it somewhere right around there. And now we need some text. So I'm going to grab my text tool and type out, let's say, Explore Japan. There we go. And I'm using over here Acumen Pro Condensed. Great font. I believe you can get that on Adobe Fonts. I'm going to pop it somewhere right about there. And I do want to add some paragraph text. So I'm going to grab my text, and instead of just clicking to make a point text, I'm going to click and drag to create area text, just like that. Now in here, I'm just going to write something just very simple for now. I'm not going to type because I don't have time. Who has time to type out a whole paragraph? So I'm going to do that. I'm going to change it from condensed to just regular Acumen Pro, and we'll make it, let's say, 18 pixels, and we'll do maybe regular. We'll see what that looks like. And to really fill this space, I could just type things out. Don't want to do that. So I'm going to go up to the plugins menu and use the Lorem Ipsum plugin. And if you haven't used this yet, or if you don't have it installed, definitely go down to Discover Plugins, and you'll be able to find lots of plugins, including all of these and a lot more. But I'm going to go to Lorem Ipsum, fill with placeholder text. There's a bunch of settings you can use. You can go through some of those. I'm going to end it in a period and press Insert Text. And you know, I see I have to adjust the spacing a little bit. There we go. Let me do that again so we fill out some of that space. There we go. Perfect. Maybe I'll decrease the opacity just a little bit. Great. All right, now the final thing we want to do for this card is actually add a button. So I'm going to grab my rectangle, draw out a button at the bottom here. I'm not going to make it full width because that might be a little bit too overkill. And I definitely want a rounded button because I'm a big sucker for rounded buttons. Let me know in the chat if you prefer rounded buttons, straight edged buttons, or outline buttons. Those are also fun too. And with my eyedropper tool, I'm going to sample the background color just like that. Maybe I'll make it a little bit thinner. There we go. And then in the middle, let's go. I'll make that a white color. There we go. And I do want it a little bit more bold so that it does stand out. And I'm going to make it a little bit larger just by pulling on that handle at the bottom of the layer. Great. Now I'm going to make sure things are lining up really nicely, and that looks pretty good. So we have Anna for rounded buttons. Bev says rounded. A lot of people say round. Okay, I like you. I like all of you. Only the ones who say round. The rest, I don't know. But it really depends on the situation. Sometimes straight buttons definitely work, but look at all these rounded, yes. Buttons I can eat, yes, of course. All right, so we've got our first card. Now we can create some additional cards. So I'm not going to move the card. I'm actually going to just move the images. So I'm going to grab this image, just drag it over to the right. I'm going to hang it off the board, the edge of the artboard just a little bit on both sides. And you're noticing we have these cool smart guides, smart padding that's really helping us align things really nicely. And back in Finder, I'm going to grab a few more images. We'll go for this image. We'll drag it into this one, and maybe this image into this card. Perfect. So now that we have our different images set up, we actually need to create the pagination. So right at the bottom, underneath this card, again, I'm going to grab my rectangle. And of course, there's so many different styles you can use for paginations. I'm going to go for something a little bit more stylistic. You can go for something very simple, like just a bunch of numbers. But I'm going to round this out a little bit, turn off the border for now, and make this a little bit darker. And you know what? Maybe I will have a border, but a very, very subtle border. Just like that. Perfect. All right. Maybe I'll make it a little bit thinner. Okay, now in the inside, we need some numbers and we need probably an indicator of what page we're on. So I'm gonna grab my text tool, type out the number 1, very simple, right? And to make this very easy, I'm gonna use my repeat grid. So I'm gonna go up here, press repeat grid at the top, boop, there we go, and drag out, let's say 4 different numbers. We'll go for 5, even though we don't have 5 images, we don't even have 4, but you know, we're gonna do it. And I'm gonna space these out so they fit really nicely in the middle of this box, and you can move this around. You can also, if you want to very quickly center something, if you have one layer selected, select the layer that you want to center it within as well. So hold down Shift and click on it, and then press this button at the top, the Align Center button, and it will align the top item with the item in the background that you have selected. Great, so now that we have a little bit of a pagination container and some numbers, we obviously want to change these numbers. So this will be 2. Was that just my first boop? Oh no, I need to make up for this. 4 and 5. Great. Again, I want to make sure, just in case, make sure that this is centered. It is, perfect. And now we need some sort of an indication as to which card or which image, which page that we're on. So I'm going to grab my ellipse tool and simply draw one out behind number 2 and make sure to move it behind the repeat grid. Now, of course, I do want to change the color, because white on white probably doesn't go very well. I'll go for a nice blue, a little bit desaturated, and make sure to line this up perfectly. That looks good right about there. So it's pretty good. All right, maybe it's a little bit over to, there we go. Perfect, all right. I'm gonna make sure in my layers panel to group all this stuff. I'm gonna group this. This will be called Pagination. Yeah, Julian, the repeat grid tool is super interesting. And just to show you, if you've never used it before, we have a repeat grid over here, somewhere over here. And what you can really do is just go into Finder or Windows Explorer, grab a bunch of images, drag them all into a repeat grid. These are massive images, so it might take a second or two. Come on. These are very large images. There we go. And they just load in. Usually they're a lot faster if they were smaller images, but they're super high resolution images. And you can also drag text files in as well, and it's super powerful. There's a lot you can do with repeat grids. All right, back over here to this design. So we have our pagination. I may want to actually just drag this inwards a little bit. And I have the whole group selected, and because responsive resize is on, I have repeat grid on. Let me just select the image in the container in the background. There we go, move this over a bit. Perfect. All right, so we have our little pagination now, and now we need to actually start bringing this thing to life, because obviously, you know, we want to animate this. We want to make sure that we can navigate from card to card. So I'm going to select the entire artboard, duplicate it over, Command and Control D, and now let's say we want a user to land on the 3rd page. So I'm going to just grab this circle in the background, drag it over to number 3. Perfect. That looks good. And now we're gonna drag these over. So now we're gonna run into a problem, right? Because we're gonna basically drag, let me move this down so we can actually see everything. We're going to grab all these images and we're gonna drag them over so that, you know, that one lines up. But you're gonna notice that this image over here landed on the pasteboard. And there's a few ways to avoid that, as I explained yesterday. But let me go back and let me delete this. We want to make sure that all these images are grouped together. So I'm going to select all these images, Command and Control G, and just call it images. That way, let me duplicate this one more time, move it down. That way, if I select this image here and this image here and move it slightly off the artboard like this, right? I might want to make this one a little bit closer. That image did not fall onto the pasteboard because it was grouped with another element that is still on the artboard, which is this one and this one. So that's a workaround. The other workaround is to wire it up first in prototype mode and then move the object off the artboard, because then XD knows that that object exists on both wired artboards. But in this case, we'll just keep it simple and we'll do this. So we'll move this over a little bit so it's kind of underneath. We see a little bit, see that? It's super cool, the blur in the background as we're moving it. Really nice stuff. All right, so there's number 3. Want to make sure to move the circle over to number 3. And did you uncheck the border of number? I did. So there should not be any borders on the numbers. Perfect. All right, there we go. And we may want one more artboard going the other way as well. So let me just move this over here. And then I'm going to move these images, these two images, this way. And this image, I'm going to move right about here. And again, those smart paddings really let me know that these images are now lined up perfectly. And this will be number 1. Drag that over and put it into place. All right. So Julianne's saying you drag them because you're going to auto animate, right? Yes. And let me show you exactly how that works. So basically, if you've never used auto animate before, you're going to go into prototype mode right here at the top. And auto animate really works by designing both states. So this is state number 1, how I want things to look originally. And this is state number 2. And XD, when you wire up for auto animate, looks at the differences between the two artboards. So it's going to look at what has changed. So in this case, XD is going to see, well, this image here on this first artboard moved over here, and this image kind of moved over here. And it's going to notice that stuff, and it's going to magically animate it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select number 3, because this is what I want a user to click on if they want to get to the next artboard. And I'm going to drag this little blue handle you can see right here. Let me zoom in a little bit more. Where's my magnification? There it is. There's the little blue handle. You're going to drag that over to this next artboard. And in this little window here, you're going to select tap, because you want a user to be able to tap or click on that. And then you want to make sure to select auto animate, because transition will just basically dissolve, cut, or slide the entire artboard up, down, left, or right. So we want to select auto animate. We'll go for, let's say, a snap, and we'll go for 1 second. One a little bit slow, but not super slow. So let's see how this looks. We're going to press play at the top, this button right here. Boop. And then once we press the number 3, everything is going to slide over and we'll be able to see the next card. And now, of course, you want to wire up the other interactions. So I'm going to select number 2 on this artboard, go back to the first one. I was happy with the speed at which everything animated, so I'll keep all the settings the same. And I may want to select number 1 over here and drag this down to here. So let's see it. We got 2, we can go to number 1. Oh, I didn't wire up number 2. Let's go there. I can wire up 2 over here. I can also wire up, there's my dock, wire up number 3 over here. And I might want to wire up number 1 to go all the way back over here. So here we go. Let me move this out of the way so we can see it. So I'm going to go to number 3, number 2, number 1. I can go all the way to number 3, and you're noticing the rendering of the blur in the background is rendering super beautifully. It looks really nice. That looks pretty good. And then if you want to get really fancy, you can also have one more artboard. Let me do this super quickly, which basically we can move some of this stuff out of the way. I should have probably grouped it, but we'll just move it out here for a second. And we can just basically enlarge this image so you can see a lot more. Obviously, this would probably be full screen, but double click on it, drag this over, tap, auto animate, and then bam. Obviously, this probably wouldn't be the exact interaction that you would do, but there you go. So this was a fairly basic example of the Pagination challenge for the XD Daily Challenge day number 3. Definitely jump onto Behance. Have fun with it, get creative with it. I know you're all going to do something much more awesome than I have. Publish it to Behance using the hashtag or the keyword XD Daily Challenge. I'm going to take a look at some of those tomorrow morning. Stick around, Peck is coming up in just a few minutes with more XD goodness, and I'll see you all tomorrow morning, bright and early, well, 11:30 with day number 4. I'll see you all later.